Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889, in the small Austrian town of Braunau near the German border.
Hitler's parents, Alois and Clara Hitler, had come from poor peasant families.
Alois, his father, was an intelligent and ambitious man who desperately wanted his son to do well in life.
Alois was a strict father and savagely beat his son if he did not do as he was told.
Hitler did extremely well in elementary school and appeared to have a bright future.
Otto von Bismarck, the first Chancellor of the German Empire, was one of Hitler's early historical heroes.
Hitler's other main interest at school was art. His father was furious when Hitler told him that he wanted to become an artist.
Hitler was 13 when his father died.
Hitler dropped out of school when he was 15.
When Hitler was 18, he moved to Vienna to become an art student.
Hitler had high opinion of his artistic abilities and was crushed when he was rejected from 2 art schools.
In 1907, Hitler's mother died.
The outbreak of World War I provided Hitler with an opportunity for a fresh start. He could become involved in proving that Germany was superior to other European countries.
Hitler claimed that when he heard of the news of the war,
I was overcome with impetuous enthusiasm, and falling on my knees wholeheartedly thanked heaven that I had been granted the happiness to live at this time.
Hitler liked being in the army, and for the first time he was part of a group that was fighting for a common goal.
His fellow soldiers described him as odd and peculiar. One soldier from his regiment, Hans Mend, claimed Hitler was an isolated figure who spent long periods of time sitting in the corner holding his head in silence. Then, all of a sudden, he would jump up and make a speech. These outbursts were usually attacks on Jews and Marxists who Hitler claimed were undermining the war effort.
As a German nationalist, he disagreed with the socialist beliefs in equality.
Hitler saw socialism as a part of the Jewish conspiracy. Many of the socialist leaders in Germany were Jews.
It had not escaped Hitler's notice that Karl Marx, the prophet of socialism, had also been a Jew.
In 1919, the German army entered Munich and overthrew the Socialist Republic.
His officers were impressed by his hostility to opposing ideas, and he was recruited as a political officer.
The political climate had also changed. The Treaty of Versailles had left Germany filled with much hatred for the rest of Europe and readily willing to do something about it.
Hitler told the German soldiers who attended his lectures that Germany had not been beaten on the battlefield, but had been betrayed by the Jews and the Marxists who had preached the revolution and undermined the war effort.
Hitler joined National Socialist German Workers' Party, where Hitler practiced and perfected his oratory skills while learning how to appeal to people's emotions so that they sided with him.
This party later became known as the Nazi Party.
In 1921, Hitler challenged the leader of the party. It was inevitable. Hitler became the new leader of the Nazi Party.
Hitler's ability to arouse emotions of anger and hate in his supporters often resulted in their committing acts of violence. In September 1921, Hitler was sent to prison for 3 months for being a part of a mob who beat up a rival politician.
When Hitler was released, he formed his own private army called the Stormtroopers, or Brown Shirts, who were instructed to disrupt the meetings of political opponents and to protect Hitler from revenge attacks.
In 1923, Germany was presented with a problem. The Allies wanted immediate payment for the destruction caused by World War I. Therefore, Germany started printing marks.
This caused inflation, and people found their savings becoming worthless, so they turned against their government.
Hitler now planned to march on Berlin and remove the national government.
This march, however, was seen as an act of protest and resulted in Hitler being imprisoned for 5 years, though it could have resulted in a death penalty.
While in prison, Rudolf Hess helped Hitler write a semi-autobiography which included his political ideas called Mein Kampf, or My Struggle.
Hitler was released after serving just 1 year of his sentence.
He then went to live a luxurious life in the Alps and took an interest in beautiful, frivolous women and avoided women who wanted to discuss politics.
He said, "A highly intelligent man should take a primitive and stupid woman."
On another occasion, he said,
"I detest women who dabble in politics."
Hitler's half-sister came to be his housekeeper and brought her daughter, Gaily Rubal, along. Hitler and his niece soon became involved with one another.
They had a rocky relationship since Gaily thought Hitler was cheating with Eva Braun.
Gaily ended up committing suicide after having a fight with Adolf.
Eva and Hitler got closer and soon became closely attached to one another. Once Hitler was in power, he began to create anti-Jewish policies. They were banned from shops, parks, sources of entertainment, and most forms of transportation.
On a night called Crystal Night, over 7,500 Jewish shops were destroyed and 400 synagogues were burnt down. 91 Jews were killed and an estimated 20,000 were sent to concentration camps.
Next, Hitler began to violate the Treaty of Versailles, which so many people already despised.
Then he took control of the Rhineland, Austria, the Sudetenland, given to him in the Munich Agreement, and then the rest of Czechoslovakia.
All of this went unopposed since Neville Chamberlain, Britain's Prime Minister, was practicing appeasement.
Hitler and Joseph Stalin, the Soviet's communist leader whom Hitler despised, signed a non-aggression pact, saying that they would not attack each other for 10 years.
In secret, they agreed to divide Poland.
On September the 1st, 1939, Hitler and his massive army invaded Poland using blitzkrieg or lightning roll, and the country fell within 3 weeks.
France and Great Britain declared war on September 3rd, but did not attack and were in the phony war with Germany, in which they stood on the Maginot Line while Germany on the Siegfried Line, and they did not attack each other for 7 months.
The phony war ended when Hitler invaded Denmark, which fell in a matter of hours, and then Norway, which fell quite quickly too.
He wanted these nations for Operation Sea Lion, a plan to invade Great Britain.
Before, however, Hitler invaded France by surprising them and passing their line of defense by going through the Ardennes.
France civilians were able to make an escape to Britain on the beaches of Dunkirk, but Hitler reached Paris on June 6, 1940, and took control shortly after.
Next, Hitler attacked Britain's Royal Air Forces with Luftwaffe and bombed British cities.
Winston Churchill, Britain's new prime minister, refused to give in. Britain kept fighting and had radar to detect incoming planes and an enigma to decode Germany's secret messages.
Hitler called off the attack October of 1940, though it had just begun in August.
Next, Hitler set his sights on the Soviet Union.
He marched his armies into Leningrad first, surrounded the city, and tried to starve it out, but the Soviets didn't give up, so Hitler tried moving his army to the capital, Moscow.
However, the Russian winter struck, and Hitler's army froze, still 125 miles west of Moscow.
Finally, they moved on to Stalingrad, and Hitler ignored the example of Napoleon from years before, and refused to move his army out before winter. The army got trapped in the city.
The Russians began pushing Germany back.
Next, on June 6, 1944, the Allies counterattacked with the D-Day invasion on the beaches of Normandy.
Next, in the Battle of the Bulge, Germany tried to counter the progress the Allies were making. Hitler said, "This battle is to decide whether we shall live or die. All resistance must be broken in a wave of terror."
But after pushing them slightly back, he started suffering losses.
Germany was now being pushed inward on both fronts.
On April 29th, he married Eva Braun, and 2 days later, in an underground bunker in Berlin, the two newlyweds drank poison and Hitler shot himself.